With the NBA preseason getting underway and the Utah Jazz conducting their little experiments trying to find out who the best backcourt they can play at the beginning of the season will be, I would like to go ahead and put some more eyes on Keyonte George, who is their rookie alongside Taylor Hendricks, but more so the one that's going to be having more minutes that are meaningful come regular season time. Now, Keyonte George didn't have a particularly great first game of the preseason, though he did play a lot of minutes alongside Chris Dunn, who played phenomenal against the Clippers. I do think that that was the best pairing that they did end up running that night as far as lineups were concerned and guard play. And I believe that there was a lot of learning that was done on the court by Keyonte just in those moments watching Chris Dunn go to work, operate, even though he's on a non-guaranteed contract and his future is honestly one of the most uncertain on the roster. And I think that for Keyonte George as a young player who had a solid college year and came into the summer league playing honestly out of his mind, shooting really great splits, to come into an NBA preseason game against actual players who were even more so bench players at the time he was on the court in the second half and just struggle, because that's what he did. Now, admittedly, I don't think that that is indicative of who he is going to be as a player this upcoming season, but I do believe that it was a good measuring stick to just see how he is and how long it might take for him to get his feet really under him to play against NBA caliber talent. With that being said, I believe that the player that he's most going to be accustomed to playing alongside and who he will likely have the most success alongside is when Chris Dunn is on the court. But the likelihood that people believe Chris Dunn is to start in the NBA season is unlikely, considering that they're looking to go more so with Jordan Clarkson and another guard. That being said, I do believe that Keyonte George might take a good quarter of the season to really get a sort of rhythm about himself in the games that they play. Now, admittedly, when they play against teams that aren't necessarily either in the playoff picture or aren't of contender status, I believe he'll get more minutes and have a bigger role in those games. He did play the most minutes in that preseason game, going 2 for 9 from the field and 1 for 6 from beyond the arc, but he did shoot 5 for 6 from the free throw line, which was promising and showing that the stroke is there. He just really needs to get into positions where he's comfortable shooting those shots in a game like atmosphere. Now, the Jazz haven't had much of a training camp. I believe they had 4 days of training camp under their belt previous to that first preseason game, so that's also a part of it. But I think that as the preseason continues and he continues to get more minutes, he'll end up shooting a little bit better. And then in the regular season, he'll really get his feet up under him, having team practices, playing against those guys day in and day out, and then getting onto a court on a nightly basis and occasional back-to-backs and playing against true NBA talent that's going to be in the league for years to come and also might be in the twilight years as they wane their way out. That being said, these experiences are going to be very important for him as the player that he is. I believe that he's better of a hands-on learner and a physical experience kind of guy, as opposed to just sitting in a room and learning from watching film. Now, film helps anybody, of course, but you also have certain players that learn by watching others do, and then you have some players that learn by they themselves doing. I think that he's a player that's going to learn by being on the court and making mistakes on his own. He did tend to have his head down a little bit at times when he made his own mistakes, just kind of mentally beating himself up about it. But even in a post-game interview, Chris Dunn said that he was emotional. He needs to learn to just let go and just play his game. And obviously those sorts of things come with time. I don't think it's going to take him the entire year to do. And I don't necessarily expect him to be the rookie of the year this season, just because Chet obviously is going to be playing his first year Ben Simmons style this upcoming season. And you do have the media circus that goes behind that man with the Spurs, Victor Wembanyama. That being said, I do believe that if he gets things right early on in the season, like first 10 games, first 15 games, and plays out the rest of the season consistently, even if he doesn't start, I do think that he could be on the all-rookie team, and I would like to say that as an expectation, but I do actually need to look at the other rookies that are expected to play this year and how they're panning out, because I just haven't been paying attention to everybody's rookies. But I believe that he has one of these stronger cases, particularly from a guard standpoint. Now, as far as starting, which is what this video has been entirely about, I don't necessarily know that I would want to start him out the gate. I personally wouldn't, just off the strength of the first game alone and the fact that when he did miss, his demeanor showed that he missed. Like, the best players in the league, when they miss, they act like they didn't miss. They go back on defense, they play solid on that side, they come back down, and if the set allows for them to score, or if they're a player like a Stephen Curry or a LeBron James or an Anthony Davis, so on and so forth, any type of like scorer kind of guy, Kevin Durant, Steven, Kyrie Irvings, they come back down and they shoot just like they did, not just miss the last time. And as Dion Waiters famously said before in the past, he'd rather go 0 for 30 than 0 for 9. Because if he went 0 for 9, that meant he lost confidence in his ability to shoot. I don't think Keyonte George is going to have to shoot 30 shots to hit one, but he might have a few more rough nights ahead of him before he ends up shooting, 5 for 8, 5 for 11, something in that kind of ballpark. But I think his numbers will materialize and find a reach in normal. And as long as he does end up having a good assist game like he did when he was on the court with Chris Dunn, I think that things will end up playing out well for him. Now, he did admittedly end up having 5 assists, and he did end up having 3 turnovers, so not the best ratio, but this is the first game of the preseason. I don't put too much stock into it. They end up playing the Clippers again in Seattle, I believe, in their next preseason game, so they'll have another set of practices under their belt. They'll be able to get back after it again. He'll be more comfortable in the minutes he plays. He might start in that game. I think they might switch the starting pairing as far as guards go, because THT played pretty decently, but Colin Sexton wasn't exactly ideal, and he kind of did get busted a little bit by Bones Highland, who had, I believe, a team high 18 for the Clippers. But I believe that the future for this season in particular for Keyonte is going to be really big, and as long as he maintains a high level of confidence and continues to believe in himself, even if he doesn't start this year, he's going to play big minutes. And I think that he has the ability to be the future guard centerpiece for this team. Obviously, they have Walker Kessler running the center spot, and he's been very effective. And you have Lowry that's kind of outside of the age group, but just enough in there to where you could say he's young. But I think they're looking to decide who the guard is for that particular area. And they do have a myriad to choose from. But this rookie seems to be quite possibly the steal of the draft. With that being said, thanks for tuning into this video. As always, it's your boy Wraith Hoops. Make sure to like the video, comment your thoughts, subscribe and turn on post notifications, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.